All right, if you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel, share this on social media, but let's get right to it. It is award season, so lots of screeners of movies to watch. And so my wife and I, we knocked out a few the other day, and we're going to talk about one right now, which is First Man. The movie is rated PG-13. It stars Ryan Gosling, and he is playing Neil Armstrong. Claire Foy is playing Janet Armstrong. Jason Clarke is in the movie. He's playing Ed White. Corey Stoll is playing Buzz Aldrin. And it was really nice to see Pablo Schreiber in the film. He was playing Jim Lovell. I did one of my first movies I worked on, Nights in Rodanthe, years ago. Pablo was in that, and he was super nice to everybody involved. So hats off. He's just a super nice guy. So Pablo Schreiber rocked it out. Jim Lovell. And so the movie takes place during the 1960s. And I enjoyed the film as a whole. I thought it was a good movie. Okay, was it a great movie? I don't really think it was a great movie. It's obviously it's getting the award buzz and everyone's talking about it, and I saw it, and sure, it was really good. It was emotional. It tugged on your heartstrings. It went all through the journey of Neil to get to the moon. You know, and it talked about the loss of his daughter, which was tragic in the beginning of the film, who she had died from a brain tumor. And she was maybe she was a toddler, so she might have been 2 years old or 1 year old, and it was just really sad in the beginning of the film. And then what happens is Ryan, as Neil Armstrong, just becomes like withdrawn and really focused and focused on his work, because that's all he has to kind of get his mind off things. And you know, it was just an emotional film. As far as that goes, a lot of really great moments with Ryan emotionally on screen. Very beautiful. Claire Foy played Janet Armstrong, like I said before. I thought her performance was good. The only issue I had was she looked like Janet Armstrong, which was fine. She had the facial structure and the hair and everything. But there was something about Claire that still looked like today, modern day. And I think it was because she was, you know, like most of the actresses these days are hyper skinny. It didn't look like she fit in the 1960s, because women back then, you know, weren't as maybe anorexic looking. Not that Claire Foy is anorexic looking, but what I'm trying to say is she was the only one that kind of stuck out a little bit like a sore thumb. Now that was just a visual thing for me. It didn't ruin the film for me at all. Jason Clarke is great in everything he does. He hasn't done a bad movie except Terminator Genesis. And he just continues to keep rocking out really good stuff. The visuals were great in this. I mean, if you've seen movies like Gravity and other stuff, there are some scenes in this film that will make you nauseous. And there were scenes where I kept going, I could feel it in my chest. I was going, oh, I hope this is going to stop. Oh, I hope this is going to stop. And spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and all sorts of stuff, because there were some dangerous moments that went on during the Gemini missions. And it's funny because I've always said Gemini, but I guess NASA pronounced it Gemini. And so all for the Gemini missions, where they were trying to test out different phases of how they could snatch and grab things in space before they head to the moon, because the capsules were going to be taken apart in pieces and all sorts of stuff as the trip went on. So the Gemini mission stuff was really good, but again, like, you want to go, I'm going to throw up. I mean, that's kind of how I felt. They did capture some really cool stuff when they finally did get on the moon, especially like not having star fields, because at that particular angle, when you're on looking back towards the Earth, you cannot see stars. Although when you're on Earth looking up, you can see stars. It's the way the light is out in space. So it was very dark in a lot of the scenes. The whole movie felt dangerous and scary, and that was what they were going for. And I wanted to give a shout out to my friend Bob. One, he watches my videos all the time, and he liked my mug so much he asked me where I got it. I told him that I got it at a comic book store years ago, and I haven't seen it since, and it was discontinued, but he tracked it down and he found it from the actual people who make this mug, and he bought the mug and he sent me the picture, and my hat's off to him. But one of the other reasons why I brought up Bob is because Bob works in special effects and did some vacuum forming on First Man with the capsule. The outer shell of the capsule was actually done by my friend Bob, who now has the same mug that I do. And he also did the same outer shell for the movie Hidden Figures. It was just a great movie, all about the space in the 1960s and how women played a role, and not only women, but African-American women played a role in the calculations and the math on how to get and zip around orbits and all sorts of stuff like that. It's a great movie. So my buddy Bob worked on both those films, and so that was really cool that he did some of the work on First Man. Now, my big complaint with the film, okay? Hold on, let me get a sip. My big complaint with the film was a choice that the director made to shoot it a little bit documentary style, handheld, shaky cam. Now, when all the stuff is in space, fine, shaky cam, when things are spinning, I mean, I get it. You think you're going to crash. The plane in the beginning of the movie, he's flying up to see if he could get up to break the atmosphere and kind of skip off the atmosphere in between the black and the blue, if you will. And a lot of shaky cam stuff there, but it spilled over into the actual movie in all the dramatic scenes. Zip, zooms, zip, back and forth. And, you know, it kind of pulled me out of the movie a little bit. It was very distracting because when you want these dramatic moments to breathe, you know, the funeral, when there's arguments between the husband and wife, when they're crying and they're mourning for their child, the back and forth, it was just very jarring in some scenes that probably needed to just breathe. And so it felt like NYPD Blue. You know, it was that, you know, maybe like The Shield. It was that jarring. And I just don't think it was necessary in a lot of the movie, other than the stuff that was in space and when the ship is shaken and when they're lift off. And I get that. But to do handheld for most of the movie, just, I don't think it was a good choice. And not for this caliber of film. We've seen movies like Apollo 13. We've seen movies like The Right Stuff. Whenever they do these epic period piece films, you know, you really need to let shots and stuff breathe. And it was just a weird pacing choice to have handheld in the film. And so that was my only really complaint about the movie. I thought the movie overall was a good film. Is it a great film? I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel that the movie as a whole is justifying all of the award stuff, but that's just me. A lot of people worked really hard on this film, and so I'm sure they're all excited, and I wish them the best. But anyway, that's it. Those are my thoughts on First Man. So if you like this video, you can like it, share it, talk about it on social media. You want to banter back and forth in the comments. Let me know what you thought about First Man. Please do so, and we'll see you on the next video.